Hi, and welcome to a new episode of the Dive Into Reiki podcast. Today, we have a little bit of a special episode. I usually interview mostly Reiki practitioners as well as some martial arts practitioners when they do actually Japanese arts. But given the latest news and what's happening in the world, life brought me a wonderful person called Kristina Leonardi, who's a life coach and also an intuitive healer. And we're going to be talking a little bit about tips to stay grounded, of course, her journey, and just how to survive using our spirituality in very practical and beautiful ways. Christine is a holistic career and life coach with nearly 20 years of experience and a lifelong student of spirituality, healing, and consciousness. Her work is about helping you come back to yourself, understanding who you are, why you feel stuck, and what is ready to shift. Through intuitive guidance, she supports greater balance in her everyday life, explore how past experiences, even past lives, shape the present, and help people connect with deeper insight, including messages from loved ones and guides. Christina holds a BA from Boston University and is the founder of Women's Mosaic, a nonprofit centered on women's empowerment. And she's also written two books, The Personal Growth Lab and Say It to Make It. Or is it the personal growth gap? You're here
Yeah.
to clarify the gap, personal growth gap, and Say It to Make It. And her work has been featured in Forbes and Psychology Today. And I can, of course, put links to her books and all her details so you can visit her website and also follow her on Instagram. I have to say, Christina read my chart. We had a session and it was quite impressive. We had a lot of fun and gave me a few insights that were very useful to me. So I'm really happy to welcome you. And I'm also going to say that it's very funny because we actually connected through my work. She's the sister of my very beloved boss, and yeah, he's also a wonderful person. So welcome, Christina.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Natalie. I'm so excited to be here. I think this is definitely sort of a little divinely planned connection. And I'm excited to see where the conversation goes.
Perfect. So I start every interview the same way, and it's for writers and actors, I call it the origin story. So I've stolen that from the writing media, but a little bit your journey. When did you come in touch with what we call either energy work or intuitive work? And how did you meet that? How did you discover you were gifted for that?
So, I mean, I think pretty much ever since I was born, I'm like, what is the purpose of all this? And so I think I've just been on this spiritual quest, really, more officially probably since my 20s, so about 30 years. But yeah, that just led me to explore different religions, philosophy, spirituality in general, astrology, which helped me so much explain. It's like I call it my own Myers-Briggs. It just gives you like insights about people and also the cycles of things that are going on. And yeah, I just always had this philosophy that like we're all some unique combination of talent, skills, and abilities. How do we put that into the world? So I don't know Reiki officially, but I have done like energy healing or therapeutic touch and colors and just that whole gamut of understanding energy. And then as I've evolved and grown, it's really understanding even more about frequency and sound. And as far as my work is concerned, I've always been interested in different cultures and just humanity in general. And like, why can't we all get along, basically? As this never made any sense to me.
It makes no sense to me. I still like every
It
time I'm
makes
like,
no sense
why?
to me. So, like, I studied languages, I was international relations major. I thought I was going to work for the UN and like create world peace that way. And when the reality of all that set in, I was like, oh, that doesn't suit my personality at all. So now I just live next to the UN and I go to the grocery store with all of them. And, and then I created my own sort of UN way before diversity, inclusion, women's empowerment was a thing. I started an organization called the Women's Mosaic, and that was about creating bringing women of different cultural backgrounds together to learn about each other, break bread. I have panels how to my life as a Muslim woman, my life as a Black woman. This is like before people were talking about these things. So,
So cool.
and about women's personal growth, about women giving women a voice. So I've created over 100 events over 10 years. then because I had this nonprofit and I needed help, I needed volunteers and interns. And so people would come to me and I needed help with everything. And so I said, well, what do you want to learn? What do you want to develop? What do you want to put on your resume? Because I need help with everything. So people were changing degrees. Like I had a woman that was in corporate communication. She wanted to go into nonprofit. So I was like, great, I need a newsletter. And so she came and did that, or graphic design, or what have you. But essentially I would just, in talking to people, help them figure out what they wanted and needed to do. But I was like, oh, I can talk to people and maybe they could pay me. And this was before coaching was even a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is like my 19th year as a coach. So yeah, I didn't even know what to call it back then. But yeah, people in 2007, I had like 5 people sign up, and then I just helped them figure out who they are and what they're supposed to be doing with their lives. And it's just really evolved as I've grown and evolved, much more intuitively. The world has changed, so it's like adopting. I'm like a life chiropractor more than anything. It's like,
That's a great
where
term,
are you?
life chiropractor. That's a
Yeah,
beautiful term because you're
because it's
just
like, where are
adjusting.
you stuck? Where are you stuck? Well, I always want to. I'm a Scorpio. You want to get to the root, so I'm always trying to get to the root.
Yeah, that's two
And
Scorpio together today is dangerous. Yeah,
yeah, with the pink lipstick, we both coordinated our pink lipstick.
yeah,
Uh, we did not, but so I always want to get to the root to help people just be the best version of themselves, get unstuck and flow in their life. And when you are aligned, right, with who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, allowing your natural gifts, talents, and abilities to shine forth and putting them into the world, like things are just gonna, the universe is gonna conspire to help you, right? And
yeah.
so I was one of the inaugural coaches with the Muse website, and so that started to democratize coaching a little bit more. So that was about 10 years ago, because that was a very millennial website at the time about career coaching.
So you're like
So
the OG life coach in New York
I'm
City.
OG. I
Yeah,
started when I was 12. Okay, so it was really nobody. And PS, so 10 years ago when the Muse started, so that kind of democratized it. Because before that, coaching was either this like fringe thing that was like, I was like, I'm not one of those flaky life coach people. And I'm not like a hardcore career coach person, which is like resumes, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
But I'm the person that you come to when you're like, you don't know really what you want to do. And then you can go to get expertise about whatever different area. Um, but yeah, or you're an executive coach. So like, and I can do that too. I've helped executives, manage up or leadership and all that kind of stuff. But um, yeah, yeah. So I lost my train of thought. But anyway,
it's okay.
oh,
No, no,
I know what I was going to say. So yeah, so coaching though, for a lot of a lot, it was like C-suite. So like a corporation, like my
yeah,
brother, a C-suite person would like get a coach that was
yeah,
paid for by the company or whatever, and so the average person didn't really have some place to go for guidance, if they were
yeah,
lucky, if they had a mentor, an older person or whatever. But so that I think I filled in this gap that people didn't always know what they needed or wanted, but somehow they ended up finding me. And then I'm always just to be able to assess what they need, whether it is a complete job change or career change, or maybe it's like, what, your job is fine, but if you work on this thing over here, that's going to mitigate some of the stress that you're feeling at work, and you're going to feel more balanced in your life as a whole. So it really just depends. And then it developed even more because I became, as my own spiritual practice grew and just as time goes by, I became more and more intuitive in terms of how I was coaching
yeah.
people. And also their needs changed, or the people that were coming to me, their needs changed. And it started to veer. And I think it's just because of the way the world is, in terms of helping people grow a little bit more on their healing and spiritual path. So then that developed. So then intuitive stuff came more naturally. I was pretty much coaching more intuitively. And then I, putting in some astrology and understanding what the planets are doing. And then I was able to then start connecting with people on the other side and then seeing past lives. So my journey has been incredibly organic. That's in a nutshell. It's been organic. And I practice what I preach. So I just allow myself develop in the way that it's developing, and I pay attention to the universe, and I pay attention to who's coming to me and what they need and how I can help them. And I'm like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing now.
Well, paying attention is like, it's funny, like a lot of people in the healing world, they want to escape and not to pay attention. And paying attention is the one thing that actually helps you develop your journey and your healing journey way forward. And it's funny, it's the one thing, I think it's one of the things that stands in the way more for us to grow. You said many interesting things. One, I'm just going to say a thought, and the other one, I'm going to ask you a question. But you were talking like now regular people are lucky if they had a mentor, and I was thinking there is before you will be a farmer and your father will be a farmer, but now like and you have the grandpa or the uncle. There was this relation of someone that could guide you. Now the world is changing so fast in the way we
Mm-hmm.
live that you really don't have your parents as mentors, and also
Mm-hmm.
people switch so much of jobs you don't even have workplace mentors. So now I understand also the importance of life coaching, which is like, oh right, with there is a gap, as you mentioned in your book, like of like literally people guiding you, which I honestly am a pain because I work, I love mentoring young people, and with the
Mm-hmm.
Reiki thing is the same. Uh,
Yeah.
Therefore, this podcast. But the other thing that I really like, and is something, so you have to understand, I actually, one of my pet peeves is like coaching often, right? Because I feel like a lot of people take classes, very short classes, and then they go there asking the same questions. And then they give like, okay, do this and you'll be fine. I feel often a lack of depth or lack of willing to go deep. And you just say like, I like to find what is stuck. And I want you to elaborate a little bit that and how willing are people to go there and how it can change your life to really face that and how to face it with more, that is not so like it doesn't drive you nuts. It's like how can we hold that space with compassion so it's easier as well?
Yeah.
That's a lot of questions in one. Probably like, yeah,
um, you know, this is where I go very intuitive.
yeah.
So I like to say I have X-ray vision and like supersonic hearing. So it really depends on where that person is at in their own growth and journey. So I can have it could I'll give you a range.
Yeah.
A range is like the other day I had someone which I posted on my Instagram about because I was so impressed with myself. I had someone who's Hungarian and living in Montreal. So she's Hungarian's her first language, French is her second language. She speaks English, but not really. Like she understands it, but doesn't speak well. So I had to assess really what the situation was and why she was coming to me and all this kind of stuff. Because, and also she was like a chemical engineer working like in the oil industry, things that I know absolutely nothing about. Okay. But I was trying to figure out, okay, what is the issue here? Like, what is the issue? And for her, it was she didn't recognize the power that she had in the situation. Like there was a political situation, there was like a workflow, productivity situation. So yeah, on one level, it's that. But my job or how I work is like I'm like, well, what is the issue underneath that? What is everything is here teaching us some personal growth, something that's trying to get us to understand or learn about ourselves. We're just all in a play. So like that's the play that she's in that's trying to get her to show her innate power. And so I was able to extract that and just help her manage that situation. I've had other people that come to me and um they're just feeling really stuck. Like I said before, they might hate their job, they might think that their job needs to change, but we actually talk and I'm like, actually it's because you have not given yourself any pleasure in life, and so we need to focus on that and create activity, do activities. I give them homework, and then when they go to their job they don't hate it so much because at least they're getting pleasure from this other part of their lives. And for other people it's an even deeper, more spiritual journey that they're on.
So what is the main thing you see that people get stuck when it comes to their healing journey? What is like if you could see like a pattern of clients, what is like the one fear or the one thing that you come across more often?
That's such a good question. um they're too much in their head.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, that's actually a great answer. Can you tell us a little bit how that comes across and how that stops them? Because
Yeah.
I literally think like when people hear this on the podcast, they're gonna have goosebumps because yeah, that's us.
And the way I answered that is through my intuition.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't know. My head doesn't know. Our minds, our little pea brains. I always say to my clients, like, our little pea brains, we don't know. Our minds are here to serve our heart and our gut, which is connected to something higher than themselves, our higher self, something greater, our source, whatever. So, because, and I don't blame them because we are conditioned in a society that is all focused on left brain, left brain, left brain, masculine, 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 X to Y to Z, all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, if you just stop for a minute, get into your body, check in with yourself on a regular basis, which we'll talk about that in the tips and things, but like, listen to yourself. You know yourself more than anybody. And so a lot of times, like when I do my essential self consultations, which is like a 2 hour deep dive into someone's life, I might have some ideas about what they should be doing and what the issues are. But then we'll do a little guided visualization at the end and we go into genie land. And I ask their heart and their gut what their ideal situation is, or what is it called? And they have an answer right there. They always have the answer right there. And it's never anything crazy. I'm like, you didn't tell me you want to be a rock star on Mars or like a brain surgeon and you work in insurance. Like, you didn't tell me anything crazy.
Yeah.
You know what you need. It's just we have all these blocks and fears to actually walking in that direction. So I think there's a disconnect between our heart and our minds is the biggest block, and also the external noise and pressure that we have from the culture, from family, friends, our peers. And, this thing messes with us and social media.
Yeah, phones are a big time suck, and it's incredible. It's incredible how much time we spend on them, and also like you were literally watching over and over the same thing there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. But and I had a question that I sent to you. I'm still because, for example, when I meet you and there is this guidance, and that has happened to me also sometimes as a practitioner myself, or I have to say a secret here. I used to read tarot cards in my 20s in Miami when I lived in Miami. And people really will come to me with guidance, but they will almost like put on me like, okay, you tell me what to do with my life. So how do you encourage people to actually like open up, but also to be accountable? Like how because I think that's also Reiki practitioners could benefit from understanding that boundary of like, I'm here to help you, but you have to be accountable for your own healing.
Yeah, it's so funny. When I thought about this question, and I thought about like, yeah, I I have never articulated this before, but I've thought it. So I'm so glad I'm able to
Yeah.
articulate this. Because in my own chart, one of the things, like, because there's different ways to interpret things, but one of the things is like, oh, I could have been a good lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And what I realize is I make a case to the client. I make a case, like, because we go through their life, or I sort of put together a picture, and whether it's like characteristics, it's past experiences, all this kind of stuff, it's like I make a case to them, and I never put it in those terms, I'm just explaining that here. But it's like, here's all the evidence to show you who you are and what you should be doing. It's not coming from me. I'm just saying, look at all these things that you did and reflecting back to you. A lot of times, what I'll do too is I'll connect dots that they would have never connected. And I'll be like, look at this pattern. Look, you always did, I don't know, like you were always dealing with people. Like that's the through line. You're always like the one that was like providing services to people, even though it could have come in many, many different forms, like an insurance company or in hospitality or whatever. But it's like I'll see the through line that they might not have seen. And so when it's presented to you in a way that you haven't thought about yourself, and when it's all laid out, it's like, oh, like I can't hide anymore. I can't deny this anymore. And so I think that lends the motivation. And it's because it's clarity. So what I provide clarity for people and kind of a direction. But it's like I take all this stuff and then organize it in a way and then show it back to them. So it's like, oh, that's me. Like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. If they're coming to me, and especially if they pick me specifically, because I'm not like a normal career coach or whatever, whatever that is. If they come to me again, I trust they are supposed to be talking to me and I have something to offer them. And there's a reason why we're coming together now at this particular moment, because they're ready to make a change. Now, obviously, like it's funny because I've had, people are not sure they want to work with me. So we'll have a little like
Yeah,
intro
chat.
call, whatever. And I can tell usually I'm like, oh, this person has a choice right now. Like they're either going to walk down this and really change, or they're just going to stay the same. And that's up to them. Right. And so that's where, like, yeah, they won't choose to work with me because they're not ready to make the changes. But the people that ultimately end up working with me and they're paying me money or their company's paying money, whatever, it's because they're ready. It's because they're ready, because there's something deep, 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 deep down in their soul that knows this is what they need. And so I'm always like, when I talk to people, I'm like, is a vibe check. I never try to like push them. It's like either you want to do it or you don't. And when people say, well, what makes a good client? I'm like, you just have to be open and like you have to do the homework. So
Yeah.
like if I give you homework and you don't do it, it's like working out or whatever. It's like I can be the personal trainer. I can tell you all the exercises to do, but if you don't do them, you're not going to get results.
Nothing happens. There is one thing when you were talking about you here, 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 and then you show it with the thread. I had this image of a beautiful mirror, like, dropping the self. This is who you are in all your beauty. And that in a way, when you take that approach, then you're not
It's not
seeing
me.
exactly. But I think sometimes, and I think it happens more probably because we touch people and this energy work is a little bit like there's such a deep connection. Sometimes it's almost like we say, well, you do this, I know what is good for you. There is a lot of I in there. But the way
Mm,
you're seeing it, what if as a Reiki practitioner, I become this mirror and I literally just reflect your light so you see how beautiful your light is. So I think it's a very beautiful metaphor and it's an easy one to get. Like you are a mirror and you're reflecting someone's light and making sure it shines beautiful. And
exactly.
that requires confidence in yourself and requires also like knowing a little bit of boundaries, right? So I really love that image. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me articulate it. Because
Yeah, it's
these are things that like run around in your head, and it's like it's great to be able to like, yeah, to explain some stuff sometimes.
yeah,
So
it's just I think it's so hard because especially like for example, and your intuitive coaching is the same. When you're with someone, you are so connected, right? Like that's why like there is a dropping of defenses, barriers in a healthy way.
mm-hmm.
But it can also be very confusing because you feel that love and that caring for that person that you didn't know. And it's like, and now you're living and I won't get a say in your life. Like, right? It's like, so how do we learn to just let go, to enjoy that moment of connection and love? And because it's
Mm,
very deep and say, this is it. I may see you once or three times and
mm,
maybe change your life, but that's it. I have to let you go
mm,
without any like as you said,
yeah,
without grasping, just with a very open heart. Like, great that we spent 3 hours together. I may see you again or I may not, and that's okay, right? It's
yeah.
beautiful.
I think, yeah, I think the way you're just speaking to my heart, because when I'm working with someone,
Yeah,
it's a very, very deep connection.
yeah,
I take what I do very, very, very seriously, and there's a healing, there's a connection that takes place. I think for me, because I've done it long enough now, it's it does go back to the confidence thing of like trusting that you did the best you could to give them whatever they needed at that moment. And what's the saying, like, do your best and surrender the rest.
yeah,
And then it's kind of, it's up to them, and they know where to find you. So if they need to come back, if you need to reconnect, and that happens to me all the time. Like I have a client and then I won't see them for 2 or 3 years because life is changing, life is happening, then we come back together. Or now that my abilities have evolved and I'm offering readings as well, so we can connect on a different level for that. But I really feel like I'm working for something. I don't work for myself. I work for something higher than myself. And so I just do my job, like this is just my job. So then it's up to everybody, it's up to their guides, God source universe to take it from there.
That's beautiful. And going into the more practical things. So again, one thing I'm loving the conversation, and the reason I also reach out to you is often with Reiki, we have these beautiful soothing experiences and we're calm, and then we take the newspaper online because there are no newspaper, they should change the name. Whatever news you read, and that calm is gone, right? Or we go out and things are hard, like the prices are rising, or we have three kids, jobs are more demanding. And it's just becoming a lot for a lot of us, especially in a country. I grew up in a country that was a mess. So I'm trained. I was trained. I literally but here in the US, things used to work well. And now, 4-hour lines at the airport, which you know,
Yeah.
it's actually not even in Venezuela. We had that, but let's say that it's not everything is not as smooth as before. And then your Reiki practice calm goes to hell. And that's the reason I also like, okay, can I talk to a life coach? Because you understand the space of calm where we go, because you go there, you understand the connection and the concept of energy. So, what are some practical tips for practitioners to really stay a little bit more centered and for the calm not to become with the first headline we read?
Yeah. So if anyone has ever worked with me, or if you've seen me speak, I gave talks at the New York Business Library for 10 years. There's videos on my website, on my YouTube. But you will always hear me say, well, first of all, I always start, if I'm doing a talk, I always start with just taking some deep breaths, checking in with your heart and just releasing the day and just check in. And so if you take nothing else from my talk, it's to remember to breathe. So that's
Yeah.
number one. Number two is every day before you do anything else, 15 minutes. If you can't do 15, do 10. If you can't do 10, do 5. If you can't do 5, do 1. You want to connect with yourself before you give your energy and attention to anything else. So you can wake up, I call them my anchors. So you have your morning anchor, you get up, have the same place that you go to every day. It's a chair, it's your window, whatever it is, a regular place where you go. I call it my church. So my friends know I'm in church today. It's the Church of Kristina, where I sit every day.
I love that.
Yeah, and I go with it and I just connect with myself. I have my own thing that I've developed over 20 something years that I've been doing it. So you can do prayer, you can do affirmations, you can just drink your tea mindfully, you can just like feel your heartbeat. Maybe you have I have a pile of inspirational books, so I can open to a page and get a message for myself for the day. Or if you want to pull a card every day, like brushing your teeth, you have to set aside time to connect with yourself, to connect with the spirit, whatever. It's like a muscle. So you develop that muscle every single day. And also when you come back in from the outside world. So you start your day before you give it away. Then when you come back, that I like to lay flat on my back and you release the day on the floor. You release the day because that, all this stuff has happened during the day. So you want to just release it, come back into yourself. So that is the evening practice where you're transitioning from the outer world to your inner leisure time or whatever you're going to do in the evening. And I call them my anchors. So if you do that every day, your life will change because it's automatically going to put your system in more of a homeostasis. There's always going to be stress. There's always going to be things crazy. But if you can get your baseline to a certain level, and it's only because you put the effort and the time in, and you have to do it consistently on a regular basis. So I would say for everyone, whether you're a practitioner or not a practitioner, we all need that help, especially right now more than ever.
And I love how simple it is. For example, I'm better, but sometimes I have to listen podcasts of Japanese or Italian or learn a language that I know will never learn, but to keep my mind after work. I think probably a lot of us we struggle letting go of the day to relax at night. And I love that tip of just laying down flat and feeling your body on the floor because it's so simple. But also for Reiki practitioners, especially, it's very grounding, right?
Mhm.
Allowing, like, feeling like the earth with your back and like letting go and just be there. So I love how, at the end, everything is so simple, right? But also,
Yeah.
like, first I connect with myself, I do my life, and then I remember to release, to let go.
Release and then come back in, and come back to yourself. And the funny thing is, Natalie, is like, I just do stuff because it feels right. Like I'm very attuned with, like, I just listen to myself. And I was doing that practice for a long time. And then a couple years ago, I took like an Alexander technique class,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, they're great.
and she said, when you do that, it resets your nervous system. So there's like science behind all this too. I don't need the science, but it's like, oh, that's why I feel better after. It resets your nervous system.
It's completely, I did one with my PT, and it was even interesting that if you lay down and then you move your eyes to one side or the other, it can even like help with something with, like, it's really,
Yeah.
the body is very wise and very simple. As you said, we stay in our head. It's like, so it's funny, like, I have to calm my body, I have to calm my body. And it's much easier to calm the mind through the body than the body through the mind.
1,000%. A
Yeah.
1,000%. And also, I would say too, being an empath, being an energy healer, all of that, you're more susceptible also,
Yeah.
right? You're more susceptible when you're absorbing probably more. So actually, two things I want to say about this. In the morning before you go out, I also do a practice. Make sure all your chakras are closed. Make sure you have like some sort of protective bubble, violet, silver, a little, gold egg around your aura, so you're protecting your aura before you leave. It's like putting your clothes on before you leave. So I would also add that tip. The other thing I think to keep in mind is, as a sensitive person, as a healer, as someone who works with energy, hopefully you're gonna protect yourself during the day. You can still be empathetic and compassionate, but keep your energy protected. um but if you don't, or we're busy, we get distracted, there's so much out there. And because it is such a chaotic, intense time, people's emotions, their energy, it's so discordant. It's all over the place, depending on the day, depending on the planets. And I will say, we are living in the most extraordinary, rare time astrologically, like things that have not happened in 6,000 years, 250 years. I mean, it's so, so rare, the astrology that's happening. And astronomically, what's happening, the solar flares, we're in a solar cycle. So astronomically, that's why, you're seeing all these aurora borealises where you used to have to go to
Yeah.
Iceland to go see them. No, it's because the sun is having all this extra activity, the volcanoes, da 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 da. Our bodies are like dealing with all of this
Yeah.
stuff. It's not even like reading the politics in the news. It's
Yeah.
energetically
Yeah.
what we're being hit with. So again, as a sensitive person, as an empath, as a healer, you do have to like do a little bit more work on maintaining your hygiene, because you're
Yeah.
probably absorbing more and you're probably more sensitive, and your body's probably processing through a lot more. So the other thing I would say is, yeah, make sure you can visualize yourself like a shower, like cleaning the energy.
So we have a Reiki shower in Reiki practice. You literally put your hands here and then you literally like, but so in Western Reiki, everything that you say, like the protecting and the chakras and all of that, and then the shower is seen as cleansing. In Japanese, and because I have to add my side, it's the same, but instead of protecting, because in Japanese practice, you're interconnected. So when you close, you separate yourself from oneness. But
Mm-hmm.
but I know why. And sometimes you just need to have your cocoon, because if not, you go crazy. And I'm not saying anything is wrong. It's just because, like, I also want to like share this. It's the same, but it's just you stay centered in your hara. You stay connected to your
Yes.
true self, and that
Yes.
protects you in a way. So it's
Yes.
just words, but it's at the end, it's all the same. It's like when you're talking about cocoon, it's also like stay centered in yourself. That's,
Yes.
and I'm just explaining because the podcast, like, some people
Well,
have
no, and
one
actually,
crazy
it's a
thing.
really good point, Natalie. Actually, it's
Yeah,
a really good point, because I think, because I know about the hara and all of that too.
yeah,
To me, though, at least probably what my audience would be, they don't know about any of that stuff, right?
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
You also have to be highly trained to be centered in your hara.
this is what I was going to say.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
more advanced. It's more
yeah,
advanced. So yes, I think that's ultimately, yes, that's the answer. We're all
Yeah.
one. We shouldn't need to protect ourselves, yada, yada, yada. We should just be
Yeah,
steady.
yeah. But when you're not there, you're not there.
You're not there. So you still gotta,
And honestly, so I'm neurodiverse and I struggle with noise and people, crowded places. And there is, because it's a body thing, my brain gets overwhelmed. I wear my earbuds. I avoid crowded places. So I also think like some concepts are very absolute and it's perhaps you can see it as protection. It's like I need to protect, like there is no center in the heart. It helps, but there is a moment where my body, like I have to take care of my body and I will
and
see
we're
that taking care.
human. Like we're
Yes,
human. If you were
yes.
able to do that 24/7, you wouldn't be here. You'd be an ascended master somewhere. You know
Oh
what I
God,
mean?
no, please. It will not be so much fun. Life is
Oh
fun.
yeah, I remember your reading.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But also life is fun. I had a we have a crop of beautiful juniors at work, like the most incredible set of
I've
young
met some of
women. And
them.
one
Yes.
of them, who's brilliant, did a mistake and she was so scared. I'm like, have fun. You just learned something. Like lose the fear of living, like a little bit, right? So it's how can we
Yeah.
have a little bit more of that because fear also disconnects from yourself. So if you need to protect, and I tell my students that if you feel like you need to protect yourself to be able to function, protect yourself because at the
Yeah.
end, we need to do whatever
And
we need to do.
we're
Yeah.
learning. And so it's also, yeah, so it's also like letting go of this perfection thing. Like you're not going to be perfect. We're humans. Like we're just not going to be perfect.
Also, please, if you were perfect, you would not be here. Like you can be
Exactly.
close to perfect, but
And
no, because it
also,
will be boring.
or quote unquote perfect is over control. And that's not in being in the flow of life.
I love that you brought this, and I know the conversation. Like that's what I love about conversations. We start with the questions. We go, I feel like, especially in the spiritual community, there is this perception that we can never make a mistake, we can never get angry. We have to be these perfect human beings, and we have to have a perfect future. Everything has to go well because if not, I'm not a good practitioner. But that, for me, I always say, isn't that actually being scared, which translates as having to control everything or not accepting of who you are? So tell me a little bit more
Life
about
is messy. Like it's sort of like you have to go through the messiness. Like it's like, or think of life as like, like roaring rapids. Like it's bumpy sometimes, and then sometimes it's going to be smooth. But like, like it's we are all works in progress. We're all works in progress. So we're think about what, like in a construction site, if you're remodeling your house, it's going to look so chaotic and messy sometimes.
it. Oh, yeah.
There's going to be mistakes and it's always going to take longer than you think it is. So like that's just how life goes, or even just in nature, the process of transformation, like in a butterfly, all the different stages, or an acorn to the oak tree. It's like it's going to look different at different times. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be messy. It's going to, so it's like there is no such thing as like what do they say? It's like there's no squares in nature. Like there's no boxes. There's nothing linear in nature, right? So we have to embrace the organic evolution of things, and it's a messy process.
It's beautiful. And the one thing that also came from what you're saying is when we want to be perfect and control, it's very difficult to ask for help and guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And again, talking to you, a life coach, a Reiki, a mentor, I think that has been a thread that without us noticing is there. The importance of asking for support, the fact that you may be a person who works as a healer or as a Reiki practitioner or whatever, like the importance of reaching out for support, being a mentor, being a life guidance, intuitive, whatever it is, like a person of wisdom that can help you unstuck, but how important that is through your life.
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, we all need some form of therapy. A therapy could be a gazillion types of things. We all need some kind of spiritual practice or connection. We all need human connection. We all need help and guidance, even if it's just someone else holding space so you could talk your stuff out.
Yeah.
Like even that sometimes is like, because it is kind of hard for me to find a coach that can deal with me, like, or that has the level of like, you know that has what I need, or but I realize like when I have worked with people, it's like, oh my God, it's just like you're doing what I do for people, but I never just get someone to listen to me,
Yeah.
and so they might not be quote unquote providing answers or whatever, but just holding the space, like creating a situation with a mentor, guide, coach, therapist, whatever, so that it's your space. Because as healers, and I consider myself a healer ultimately, like, so as healers, we need healing too. And we're giving, giving, giving. So we're pouring out, we're pouring out, we're pouring out. And so for healers, it's a lot of times hard for us to receive, whether it's giving to ourselves or receiving from others. So anytime that you could create space for yourself, even just take a break, go sit outside, be in the sun, even though you have 5 million things on your to-do list, or have a Reiki session with someone or a coach or a therapist, like you're doing something for yourself so that you can fill your cup, right? So that your cup can be filled when you go out. You can fill your own tank so that you can be more effective as a healer, as a coach, or whatever. It's so, I don't know, I'm feeling very strongly right now that I really need to emphasize this for whoever's listening. Like, I'm feeling it very strongly. Like, we've got to create more balance between what we're giving and what we're receiving, especially as healers and past coaches and everything, because the time is coming very near, it's already here, where so many people, many more and more people are going to need our support, because that's how crazy things are getting out there. And so we have to really be in good shape. Like, we really have to make sure we're in the best shape mentally, physically, spiritually, in order to serve in an even bigger way. I'm just feeling very, very strongly right now. This is the reason why I'm on your podcast.
Yeah. So that means things are not going to get a lot easier in the next few months, huh?
Not anytime soon. No, but that's not a bad thing necessarily. That's not
Yeah.
a bad thing. It's just that, and again, if we go really, like, we zone out to the like real, macro picture of things, we're in between. We're in between. So the old has got to end and crumble.
Yeah.
The new's not there yet. So that in between space is going to be terrifying for most people. It's going to be very chaotic. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be fun. But people like us who have already been on this journey, who have a certain established sense of peace and understanding spiritually and have tools, we're going to be like the front line of helping people get through this time. Because, and again, I'm speaking also because I know what the astrology is going to be like this month, especially April and July, especially crazy astrology. And with AI, so that's like a whole other thing, how that's changing the world.
Thank
So
God they cannot do Reiki yet. It's like,
but this is what I'm saying. See, I'm just getting, now I'm getting goosebumps. See, now I'm like, okay, this is the whole reason why we're doing this.
yeah.
So it's like, because like, where is the humanity? We are keepers of all these things that technology cannot do, right? And it really is going to be serving all these people who are going to be scared, sick, anxiety ridden. We're going to be the ones. It's like we're the doulas. Ooh, that's what I just got. Like, we're the doulas. Ooh, feeling this. We're the doulas that are helping humanity through this very, very like narrow, rough patch. So everything that you've been doing, I'm saying to everybody that's listening, because if you're listening to this, there's a reason why you're listening to this, and this is the message that you need to hear. There is a reason why you've been through everything that you've been through, why you've developed yourself, why you've chosen the paths that you've chosen, because you are getting ready to be called to a bigger role in the world. And big is relative.
Yeah, big is we're not saving the whole world, but we may be there for our neighbors and the people who needs us and when they need us, and that's big.
Yeah,
It's
huge. And also, sorry, I'm just feeling this again very strongly, is that even if you are watching this and you're not a practitioner or anything like that, it doesn't matter. Your consciousness, your level of consciousness, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're interested in the things that we're talking about, it is because you're evolved to a certain level that you're holding a certain frequency. So everyone that's listening to this, if you do nothing else, you do those two anchors that I talked about, you take some time to breathe, you show up in the world with peace and love and compassion. This is quantum physics, this is not
Yeah.
woo-woo. You are showing up, and that energy, your frequency, is contributing to the frequency of the whole. And that is more important than I think any of us really realize.
I love that you brought that. We're talking as one of the topics, perhaps love and compassion. And there was a statistic that the person I interviewed in the past episode from My Spiritual Butterfly sent on a mailing about in some towns, literally, when people a threshold of people meditated peacefully, the
Mm-hmm.
crime rate went down
Yep.
like close to 20%. So there is even studies that demonstrate that. And I think sometimes like, how can I help the world is so overwhelming by just creating peace within yourself and trying to bring it as much as you can outside. Not every day. Doesn't mean if one day you're angry, the world is going to destroy days on you because we're like that extreme sometimes. But any moment of peace that you can do that. And if you also go to that space, you're going to realize there are other people doing the same. And
Yes.
sometimes at night I meditate and I just go into my space of light. I'm not sending, doing, and
Yep.
I can feel the connection of other people who are sitting in the space too, right? So,
Thousand
and that
percent.
is also very comforting, very supportive. So I love how simple it is because there is very little we can do beyond that, to be honest, right?
This
And
is like, are you gonna go stop the bombs over in Iraq? Like what can we do? So that's why you got to pay attention with what you're feeding, what you're
yeah,
getting consumed with, because, and that's a whole other separate conversation about being distracted and about the powers that be wanting to take you out of yourself,
yeah,
because you're more manipulated and controlled that way. So the more that you can stay in your body, stay connected to yourself, create as much peace and a level of frequency just within yourself, within your own little world, that ripples out. And it's like it makes like the force field harder for like the negative stuff to get in. It can't take
yeah,
a
absolutely.
hold if there's more peace. And also, like, I don't know if you know David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins. He's a famous psychologist and author of all this stuff. You can Google David Hawkins. But I actually have a little video on my Instagram, and he talks about, like, because this was like in the 90s or something, he was talking about how, like, a fisherman, right? If a fisherman is just having like a blissful, like peaceful experience, like on a lake in like Minnesota or whatever, and he's just blissed out with his like little fishing pole, he says, you don't understand that level of peace and beauty, how that's affecting a kid with AIDS in Africa.
Oh
And then
wow.
that kids with AIDS in Africa has hope and feels a bit of joy and feels a bit of lightness. So it's really interesting. So that I don't think we understand the power that we actually have.
I love that. I would love to end the podcast on that, but I do end every podcast on an oops or a teachable lesson. Again, part of it is because we're talking about control. People really are scared. And I notice even more in the younger generation, because there is so much information available, they feel they cannot do mistakes. And if we don't do mistakes, we don't learn, we don't grow. So I love every person like you who have achieved, like, quite a career and have achieved a level. And people say, oh, look, Kristina, she's like, she knows so much. I'm like, so this. So I love for you to share like something that you did that was a noobs, but actually ended up teaching you a lot.
Well, it's funny. The oops is more of like just learning. It's more about learning how to, like we were have the confidence in what I'm doing. So, and not second guess myself, because sometimes, like earlier on, I was trying so hard to like give them everything that they needed and make sure everything was right. And I would over give or over try to over prescribe or over give them the whole kitchen sink kind of a thing all at
Yes.
once, right? And then so I had to learn how to kind of like modulate that a bit more, and then understanding how that was reflecting in my own self-worth and self-confidence. um and then eventually just like deeply trusting that like I showed up fully and present. And so whatever came through, now it's especially actually,
Yeah.
now that I've just been doing the readings, just straight readings for like a year and a half or whatever, that's even more trust,
Yeah.
right? Because when I'm coaching, it's like, it's still Kristina doing it and I'm using my
Yeah.
intuition and whatever. But like the readings, it's like, it's a full on trust. And some of the stuff that comes through, I'm like having an argument. I'm my own biggest skeptic. And I'm like, really? That's what you're going to say to them? Like, that's a da 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 da. And so having that trust, and then 99% of the time it lands and it resonates. And I'm like, shh. But sometimes if it doesn't, I still have to trust that that was the thing that they needed to hear. And
Yeah.
maybe they're not ready or they don't want to see it right now.
Yeah.
But then, 10, months from now, I might get oh, now I know what you're talking about, or now this is what happened. So I guess what is the through line of that is just, yeah, like going back to we're not perfect, trusting yourself and allowing yourself to evolve through the things. I'm not the same coach that I was 10 years ago, but you're not the same person that you are. So it's like being okay with all of it, maybe self-acceptance.
Yeah. No, I love that. At the beginning, I used to give like, yeah, I will charge you something and then like, here is the Reiki session, but here is also like 5 exercises you can do. And here is a crystal as a present, like, because, and then you grow out of it through experience and practice. There is no shortcut to get out
No
of there.
shortcuts.
It's just literally
No
experience.
shortcuts. And I think that's the tricky thing living in this world today too, and
Yeah.
especially for young people who are so used to having everything be instant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And life doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. Well, sometimes it does, depending on what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, for this, it certainly doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, they want to make you believe, and I think that's also there is so many also people like I'll give you 3 Reiki sessions and you'll be your best self, or I give you 2 like a live coaching and you're gonna make millions and be the happiest. So I think also is a good filter. Like if it's like gonna give you everything you want very fast, do not go
Yeah.
for that program. Like, but
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's hard because people don't want to hear like, hi, it's gonna take you years to actually like get to a place of joy and happiness. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then
And
yeah,
it also depends on, it's just like anything else. How much time, energy, effort, and attention are you
yeah,
putting towards it? So, you're going to get better results if you really concentrate and focus in a certain way. But it's, yeah, I love Gen Z. I love young people, but they've been like left out to dry. Like no one's really guiding them. But they're so earnest and they're so ready to like do life, but like they're in this like holding pattern. So I would also just encourage anybody out there listening, if you have young people in your life, to give them some attention, because I find when I give them attention, it's like they light up because
yeah.
something like someone's paying attention to me. Well, it
I
makes
know,
me
yeah.
so
Especially
important.
when you make them relax and like literally. I love Gen Zs because they are literally Gen Xers with a phone and with some AI, but they literally remind me so much of Gen X, like which is my generation. So I'm much more in common with them than, and I love millennials, don't get me wrong. Like I
Yeah,
really, but when I see a Gen Z, and I think it's probably because they're kids of Gen X, it's like,
right.
oh, dude, I get you. Like, and they like the same music. It's just weird.
Yeah,
Like there is a
yeah.
weird connection
But they
that
got so screwed with COVID and being isolated and socially, they got really, really messed up. And so
they're so
that's why I feel
smart.
like anytime you give them attention, it's like I think they're just starved for connection and human
Yeah,
attention. So I think I don't know, I'm feeling strongly like that's another message that I want people really to get from this is like pay attention to the young people, anyone under 30 especially, like in their 20s right now, those kids got screwed. So yeah.
they did. Christina, thank you so, so much for everything. Such a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better. And
Yeah.
again, I'm going to put all your information on the podcast notes. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. And it's like, again, I had to have the opportunity to talk about not only what I do, but again, just showing up and letting whatever's the most important thing and trusting that that comes through. And so thank you for being open to the conversation wherever it went, because think that is no accident, and that I really hope this helps a lot of people that tune in. So thank you for creating the space for this. What great work you're doing. Oh my goodness. I don't know how you do it with everything that you do. My God.
That's what ADHD is for.
See, you're maximizing all of who you are.
I am accepting who I am. I'm like, yeah, but then yeah, it works out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nathalie.
After this beautiful interview, I wanted to share some words from Catherine Brown, who lives in upstate New York and is a member of the Dive Into Reiki community. Catherine tells us how her practice helps us spread some light and kindness in today's world.
As things in our world have gotten more and more challenging, I've been moved to teach more and more Reiki 1 classes in the hopes of spreading a little peace around the world. I think with every class I teach, it spreads out like ripples in a pool, and it's one small thing that I can do.